All right, hey, it's Paul from paulsaylor.com, and today I want to talk about Brexit. Yesterday, the European Union, Britain left the European Union. They voted. It was a very close vote. It was 48 to 52%, and actually the numbers are actually closer than it seems. If you look at the number, I think it's less than 1 million people. So, very, very tight, very nail-biting kind of vote as it went through the day. Pretty much stayed at the end for the last few hours, but it was really tough to call. I don't think anybody knew what was going to happen. And I want to say, what did happen with the Brexit vote? What are we looking at today? What's the world looking like right now? I would say the number one thing that you want to think of, to put this into perspective, is that this is the canary in the coal mine. Okay, so I just want to use that example, and I want to explain the example a little bit, because a lot of my family were miners. They came from Finland. They settled in the Iron Range in northern Minnesota, and that's all they knew. They didn't have any education. They read a lot of books, and they read on their own, but they had very little, I shouldn't say no, but they had very little formal education. Their parents taught them and things like that. And they were miners. They mined iron ore and all kinds of things up there. And they would obviously bring the bird down with them so that if the instruments didn't function properly, the bird would die, and they would know that they had to get out, because the bird, obviously the gas is a very small amount of gas, can kill a bird. Sorry for telling that story so explicitly, but some people are second language learners watching this, and I just want to make sure you understand. So you bring a bird, you watch it. If it dies, you know you're in danger. You could die next. I think that Brexit was a canary in the coal mine for many, many reasons, but one of them is UK is probably, obviously UK and Britain are the two top countries that were in the EU before. Last year there was a big thing about Greece. In the last few years, people were talking about Greece leaving. It's going to ruin the EU and what's going to happen. And there was a lot of effort put to keep Greece in the EU. And now something even much, much bigger happened. Is the UK left the European Union. So, it's like if that doesn't wake you up that people's opinions are different than what people are predicting, you're out of your mind. Okay. So whether you're on either side of it, whether you were pro leave or you were pro stay, you got to admit that it's a new world today, that things are going to change. And I'm not saying that it was a good decision. I'm not saying that it was a bad decision. Okay. What I'm saying is that this is a new world, and that is the canary in the coal mine. That people's opinions about stuff and what we're being told in the news and media and by the governments are different. If you look at Obama went to he made a speech to the UK, I think it was about a week ago, and I saw it, and again, don't read too much into this. I'm not saying Obama's an idiot, I'm not saying Democrats, I'm not saying Republicans are great, I'm not saying Trump, none of that stuff. All I'm saying is just listen to the story. Okay, so Obama made a speech, and I listened to it, and I was like, I could not believe my ears, because it was so pedantic. He was really talking down to the British people. I felt like he was acting like, in that speech, he was acting like he was the grandfather, and he's going to teach the young kids how it is, the way things work. I'm going to teach you how things work. It was so embarrassing, and I wasn't surprised at all that it was just parodied in the press. And in fact, the basic reaction from the UK was piss off, Yank, and that was basically from either side, right? So it was just pathetic. So I put that down to bad advisors. He didn't know what was going on with normal people, with their thinking on that topic. And I think this is indicative of what's going on. It's really indicative that the elite or the media, the government, they don't know what people are thinking anymore. I think it's like an earthquake. You have an earthquake, right? Over 10 years, 100 years, pressure builds up between the two plates, right? And then when those plates finally do move, it's just like, whoa, it is insane, right? Huge changes happens overnight. Houses are split in half, 18 feet away, right? Obviously, bad things happen too. So, but the pressure is released when that earthquake finally happens, and then all those years coming up, there's pressure all the time. The plates are supposed to move all the time, but they don't. They get stuck, right? And then they finally move when things get too out of whack, and that's what's happening right now in our world. I personally think that's what Brexit tells me, is that people are not watching. For example, everything from the TPP, the trade, the proposal, right, for the almost worldwide trade agreement, and the idea that Immigration is always a good thing, right? And the idea that one government is basically a good direction to go into. Now, I'm not saying any of those things are bad. You know, I'm essentially I'm a free trader most of the time, and I think that it brings a lot of benefit to people. But I also think that we are not looking at the average person and how they feel and what they're going through. You know, the media is not paying attention. And if they're not paying attention today, because I see people today saying, oh, it was a populist vote, it doesn't mean anything. All it means is UK is now uneducated, they don't know what's going on. If they knew what better, they would just make the right decision. I tell you, that is such a load of malarkey. It's such a mistake, because if you can't see that things have changed and that people feel differently than you think now, you're out of your mind. Because nobody predicted this, including Las Vegas and people that were taking money on Brexit. Nobody predicted the success. Everybody thought it was going to fail. I was watching it because I was thinking, well, geez, what's going to happen? I have friends on both sides of the fence, right? Just to show my hand, I tended to think it was a good thing, and but that would be for another video. So again, it's based on facts, right? So I'm open to hearing new things, right? I'm not saying my way is the right way. And I think that's the danger we're seeing here. We're seeing people say, hey, my way is the right way, and it's this way or the highway, right? And even today, I'm reading today that the stock market went down in many countries. Japan went down, all over Europe. Germany went down a lot. I think it was 8%. And then UK, of course, went down, and the pound is down at a low. But you really have to look at how people use these things. People are using information against you, okay? And they're saying, okay, look how obvious it is. This is a bad decision, right? The vote was yesterday. Nothing's happened. Nothing's changed. It's going to take 2 years to unwind this thing, right? Nothing's changed, but the market went crazy, or not crazy. I mean, it reacted, right, in a negative way today. Okay, so one day the market did a negative thing. Since when would you base a country like the UK, which is a very old, full of history country, long history, amazing history. I'm a huge fan of the UK. And why would you say in one day, headlines are saying, obviously a huge mistake, everybody regrets it, it can't be changed, what are we going to do? These are being used against you. You have to just use your brain, think, wait a second, it's only one day. Okay, so we don't know. Like they asked the Chinese about the American Revolution, how did that, how do you think about that? And they said, well, it's not enough time. They go, what do you mean? It's like 200 years. He says, well, in 5,000 years or 3,000 years, we'll know more about whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. And that's the kind of thinking I like. It's like you look long term, you can see. Obviously, we have to live in the moment, so we have to do that. But at the same time, don't judge a vote based on one day. I mean, please, you guys, don't. And if you were on the stay side, don't use this information to throw everybody into disarray. It's crazy, you guys. It's crazy. The UK is a fantastic country, and the last thing I want to say is a lot of people are saying that London downtown basically voted to stay, and then a lot of the countryside voted, like the smaller towns, voted to leave. Now, and essentially what they're saying is that those guys don't know as much as the guys in London do, right? And I got to tell you this: if you look at the history of the United States, which was a colony of Britain and was built, like the industry, the basic industry. If you look at the people that ran the industry, built the industry, a lot of those people came from small towns in the UK, okay? And these are like the guys who changed the world, okay? So the idea that if you're from a small town, you're an idiot, which is basically what people are saying, that is so wrong and so crazy. And especially in this case, you have an educated country all the way through, education all the way down. That's why Chinese go there. That's why everybody goes there to school. That's why we have all these, obviously very storied institutions and academic traditions in the UK, right? They export that, and the U.S. is essentially a mirror of how the UK thinks about that, right? So, being a colony and getting the basic seed of how democratic institutions and educational institutions work. So, don't be afraid. Don't be afraid, and of course, don't just jump on the bandwagon either way. But I'm just disgusted by people who are saying this is like just going crazy today and trying to use you against you. I mean, now is the time to come together. Now is the time to think, okay? And I was thinking this morning, my project right now, 9/11 Redux, where we're going to recreate the 9/11 event because we want to prove if it was or was not a conspiracy. This is the kind of thing, we got the same reaction that Brexit got. It's like, you're an idiot. In fact, people would, on the news, people who didn't even talk to me wrote stories about me. They didn't know anything about me. They had never talked to me, okay? And there was nothing to read online. I hadn't written anything at that point. They just wildly wrote these articles, and they went all over the internet. And then, of course, some of the journalists, like the Washington Post, Lindsay Beaver, called me, and we had a really great conversation. We were able to put out something that was more accurate in papers like that. So I saw it myself. A lot of these papers that are now writing bad stuff about Brexit, they wrote about me a month ago. So I realized how crazy it is. And if you don't know about journalism right now, I met a lot of journalists in the last month doing this project, and I found out something really crazy. I didn't know this, but journalists today, you can't really blame them. They have an average of about 30 minutes to write an article today. So from start to finish, they have an idea and they have to write an article in 30 minutes, okay? Maximum of like 2 hours, and that would be like for a big deal, for something big. So they're having to go online and quickly just get as much as they can and then just write it out, or say it out in a video. So don't put too much faith into these things. Use your brain. I want to recreate this because a lot of people doubt it, okay? It's very simple. It's not because I'm tinfoil hat. It's not because I'm an idiot. It's not because I'm crazy. A lot of people doubt it, and if you don't if you don't realize that a lot of people doubt it, just say you don't know. That's all you got to say. You don't say, hey, no one doubts it, because people do doubt it. A lot of people doubt it, and I'm talking about people all over the world have doubts about 9/11, about whether it was an inside job. Now, again, I'm not saying it was. We're going to do a very a scientific test to find out. So don't let people call you an idiot. If they do, blow it off. Don't worry about it. You're going to have that a lot these days. It's just crazy the way the news media works these days and the way governments work. And, we should ask better for our people. I think there's a big change coming. I think this canary in the coal mine is just the beginning. You're going to see a lot of change in the near future. So use your brain. No one knows what's going to happen, okay? Just the last thing I will say is that you can't predict if this is going to be good or bad, okay? You absolutely can't predict. Nobody knows, right? You can say you wanted it or you didn't want it, but you can't really predict. And even if you did predict correctly about what's going to happen, you still would not be able to know what would have happened if it wouldn't have happened, okay? So we're all working with limited information. So let's, at this moment, now we do our best. We think about all the positives, about how this can be used. And I think that there's already a lot of things, the new trade deals being proposed, immigration deals in the Commonwealth, all kinds of things that revitalizing British manufacturing. A lot of good stuff can come from it, right? So with every problem, there's an opportunity, and here's an opportunity. So whether you like it or not, here's a great opportunity. And start using your brain. Stop telling people what to do is my best advice. So Paul from 9/11 Redux. Go to 911redux.com to see more about our project. The website still sucks, but we're working on it, and it will be good in the near future. Get on our mailing list, and we'll give you the latest information, so you don't have to go around like a rat looking around the internet for information about what's next. Get on the email list, and I'll email you all the information as we decide it. The first thing you'll get is the plan that we have. The next thing you'll get later on is going to be the names of our team, which we're right now finalizing negotiations with. So thank you very much for watching, and have a good one.